You're listening to Divine Conversations, Episode 1. Welcome to Divine Conversations. I'm your host, Layla, and this podcast is intended to inspire, empower, and provide practical tools to heal, raise your awareness, and elevate your consciousness so that you can embody your higher self and live your ideal life. This is our very first introductory episode where I will talk about what this podcast is all about. What is the intention for this podcast? Why now? So if you have been following me for a while on social media, you might be familiar that I have been on a spiritual awakening journey. And in this episode, I will not be going into depth on that specifically because it would take a long time, but I will be recording a dedicated video for my YouTube channel where I will really go into the depth and explain everything in detail. But I thought it would be appropriate and kind of connected to the creation of this podcast to just briefly go over it. So I would say that I have been on an awakening journey long before I knew what that even meant. And I think it started when we first immigrated to Canada when I was 18. And I just turned 35, so it's been a long time coming. But the awakening journey really intensified for me. I would say I'm not very good with remembering dates, but probably around 2012, 2013 mark. And again, I will be going into a lot more depth and sharing very intimate details from my journey as we sort of progress. And that is really why I felt guided to share in a podcast format, because it just feels a lot more intimate this way. I mean, you really cannot get any more intimate than having my voice in your ears. And for some reason, it feels like it will penetrate the hearts of those who listen a lot more than having the visual aspect for it. I might change my mind and in the future add that, but for now, this really feels like the format that I want to go with. So in 2012 and 13, it really began to intensify for me. And I've had very profound meditations and journeys and just overall going deeper and deeper into myself and sort of embarking on a healing journey, becoming aware of so much about who I really am, what is life all about, why are we all here? And I've always been the type of person that have questioned everything in terms of like, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? I think I've always had that ever since I can remember. And I would say my actual like light bulb moment came when we first moved to Canada and I was 18, my very first boyfriend in Canada. And I'm so grateful to him that he came into my life and introduced me to this book, because that really was like, it just catapulted me into this journey. It was with a book called Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And I've talked about this in the past, I believe, in my book recommendations videos on my YouTube channel. But when I read that book, it was like all of the questions that I've ever had in my heart that I wasn't even aware of were answered in such a profound and deep way that it was just very enlightening and threw me into this journey of going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've been going deeper and deeper and deeper ever since. So, but like I was mentioning earlier, in 2012 or 13, I really began to have more experiential journeys versus like intellectually reading and understanding, and which allowed me to just expand my awareness and really raise my consciousness. And 2018, beginning of the year, I was probably at my lowest point I've ever been in all levels, especially physically. I had 2 little kids and I was completely sleep deprived. I have neglected my physical health, and have not had any time for myself, for my spiritual practices or anything like that. And that has led to a complete burnout. So I was able to get away for the second time to Vipassana meditation course. And I have made videos on this on my YouTube channel. So if you are interested to learn more about that, you can refer back to those videos. But it is basically a silent course. I wouldn't call it a retreat. I know people call it that, but it's really not a retreat. To me, a retreat sounds very relaxing and sort of nourishing. This is more of a boot camp for the mind, so I wouldn't call it a retreat, but it really is a course on learning to sit with yourself, because it is a silent course. So the first time you go, it's 10 days. And if you complete the 10-day, you can go again for 3-day courses. Honestly, I will probably make more videos or more episodes on this in the future, but it was by far the thing that allowed me to just break through into the depth of my psyche and my soul. And when I was there, and because you're meditating for hours and hours and hours, you're guaranteed to have some kind of breakthroughs. There's a lot of it's a deep healing journey, and everyone will have a different experience. But I pretty much believe that you will have some kind of enlightening and insightful moments where sort of light bulbs will go off. So for me, I was walking around in the forest. It's a beautiful forested area where it's located in Egbert, Ontario, I believe. And it was winter time. It was, I believe it was March. Yeah, March break. That's right. And I had this sort of voice that began. It was my voice. It wasn't like I heard some other outer voice. It was my voice that just began to speak these affirmations through me. It wasn't a intellectual process. I wasn't thinking to say these affirmations, but I just started to say these affirmations that felt like my soul just speaking through me so that I could hear it. And it was saying over and over, I am an artist. I am a writer. I am a healer. And it was so powerful. It was just like a remembrance. That really is the best way to describe it. And I just knew that, that's the path I am being called to take. I am being sort of initiated into this journey. And it wasn't the first time. Back in 2012 and 13, I had even more profound journeys and meditations, and kind of like just, I would say an immersement, if that's even a word, where I, through writing, was kind of connecting with my higher self, the voice of my higher self, and getting guidance and insights on my purpose and what I'm sort of my mission. But when that voice came and those affirmations came, it was just like, it just shook me to my core, and it was like a remembrance, really the best way to describe it. So when I came back from that course, I was, so far away from those sort of labels that the affirmations came. I was not anywhere near being an artist or a writer or a healer in any shape or form. I was just a burnt out mom, but I knew in my heart that it was time. Like I had to just go start this journey for real this time. And so I did. And I began to set the intention and pray and really ask the divine to show me the way, to show me how I can get from where I am to where this higher vision for my life is. And one day I was watching, so I have this thing where I speak with the universe, and it speaks back to me through signs, whether it is videos or books or a person or a sign or oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now, but license plates or anything like that, it speaks back to me. So I have this kind of a connection with the divine now that I've cultivated, where it speaks, we have this conversation, divine conversation. And so one time I was sitting down to have my breakfast, and it's usually my only time to kind of just have that time alone where I get to watch something that I feel called to watch. So I would say, what would you have me watch? And I went on YouTube, and this video popped up on my feed of Super Soul Sunday. It's not Sunday, Super Soul. I'm not even sure exactly what the title was, but it was basically one of the Super Soul Oprah's gatherings or events that she had. And Gabrielle Bernstein was giving a speech or a talk, and it was called "The Universe Has Your Back." And at that point, that's what I needed to really, kind of get affirmed. So I watched that, and honestly, that video was kind of what I really needed to hear. And I've been on a journey ever since then, a completely immersed journey where I began to intensely ask in the form of prayer to be shown the way, to be shown how to bridge the gap between where I was and this great big vision that I was sort of shown. And there was a time last year in 2018 when in one of the meditations, I was also not in the form of affirmation, but in a vision, an actual visual vision in a meditation was shown, a very powerful experience that felt so real, you guys. I could feel it as if it was a memory. It was just something that I feel like I've already experienced, even though it has not yet happened. So that's, the more I learn about the quantum physics and the quantum field, the more I understand that I was probably shown a probable vision of what is possible for me in this lifetime, in this incarnation. And in order to get there, there are certain things and a lot of work I have to do on myself to sort of elevate myself to that level. But having said that, I now want to share with all of you this vision and this mission and purpose that I have for my life, for this life. And it's very near and dear to my heart. And I actually have not shared it with anyone recently. I mean, I've shared snippets, but I really had to it was sort of like marinating inside of me for a while. But once I got this vision and mission and purpose onto paper, and I read it a couple times to myself, there's just something so powerful about getting clear on that vision. And in my case, it just really acted and is acting like that fuel in my belly that just propels me forward. So here it goes. I am on a mission to change the world, to inspire and empower millions of people to heal the wounded parts of themselves, to become mindful and raise their consciousness, to build a community of like-minded and like-hearted beings committed to creating a new world where all beings can coexist in love, peace, unity, compassion, and harmony with themselves, animals, and nature. The mission is really to build a movement of love evolution, love-evolution. And this is really from the depth of my heart. It's such a strong vision for me. When I meditate on this, when I ask to be shown, why am I here? This was a very, very painful part for me. Like, I knew always that there was a reason why I was here on the planet. There was a reason why my heart was beating. There was a reason why I had to go through all the challenges that I've been through, all the suffering that my own mind has caused me. There is a reason why. And when I finally got clear on this vision, I cannot really put into words the magnitude of a sense of a knowing that I feel at the very depth of my being. Like, this is a vision that is so powerful for me and it's so profound. I can taste it. I can feel it. It already exists in a quantum field, and all I have to do is clear out whatever stands between me and that vision here in the three-dimensional world, clear out all density that holds me back from really embodying that Layla, that higher self that is able to do that. And as I'm mentioning now, like it's such a powerful vision that pulls me like nothing else. When I finally put this vision that was kind of brewing inside of me for the longest time, but when I finally put it down onto paper and I wrote it out and I said it to myself a few times, it's just a sense of knowing. It's a sense of remembering, that a soul remembering that this is why I'm here. Everything I've gone through up to this point was so that I can get clear on this vision, align myself with this purpose and mission, and really courageously and boldly step into this next chapter of my life. And you guys, you're all part of this. This is not about me. It's about all of us coming together with a shared vision of a better world. It is possible. It already exists, like I said, in the quantum field. All we need is to believe it in our hearts. We need to see it and taste it and feel it. And that power of emotion, I have been learning so many tools on how to bring your vision from the quantum field into the 3D reality, how to manifest. And I am convinced that I can do this. This is not a small thing to say. I realize that. But in my heart of hearts and my soul, I know that I can do this. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. But I know that I can get there. And this is just a starting point, and it's very exciting, and I'm just grateful that I'm finally here. Like, I was able to do enough work on myself where I can finally, just even a few weeks ago, I was not there. I was still going through, parts of myself that needed healing, and I'm sure there are still more parts that I will continue to heal. But to be in a place where I can finally, confidently, and boldly speak this vision out into the world and say that I am capable of doing this. And I am just grateful for the opportunity to share it with all of you. And I really, really invite you and encourage you all to just close your eyes and to feel that it is possible. Because anything truly is possible. That is the truth. Anything is possible. Whatever our minds can imagine, we can absolutely bring it out into the world. So if enough of us share the same vision and work towards it, there is absolutely no reason why we cannot create this world. And it is already being created by millions of people that are visionaries, that are out there in the ring doing the work. So it's just time for me to finally step into my role and to, like my mission says, to inspire and empower anyone and everyone who is ready for the next level of their own personal evolutionary journey and come along on this wild ride with me of creating a new world. That's like a really big vision. So from there, I, needed to figure out, okay, so I'm over here and that vision is way, way, way over there. So what do I do? How do I bridge the gap? And the guidance I got was a podcast, and it made total sense to me, and it resonated because, like I mentioned earlier, it's a more intimate way for me to share from my heart and to invite, incredible beings that I have been learning from for the past year and a half, that I've been really immersed in this healing journey, that anytime I would learn anything from anyone that I've been learning from. And let me tell you, I have been just anytime I'm not on mom duties and taking care of, my kids, or when I'm around them, I am fully immersed in this world, in the personal growth and development, and really learning all I can to apply to my own life. Because again, the pain was pushing me. I was ready to end my suffering, and all of my suffering was really caused by my own mind. So just learning all I could about the mind and how to, heal the mind, and learn to make the mind the servant of my heart and not the other way around, because that's really what is the challenge with the world right now, is that our thinking mind runs the world and fear lives in the mind. So my personal intention was so that I could switch that and allow my heart and the love to lead the way, and the fear just kind of is there, but it just comes along for the ride, but it doesn't drive the vehicle or the car, or whatever however you want to think of that. So what this podcast will be about is really inviting us all into deep conversations with either myself or you and I, because I would love to have an aspect to this podcast where I do sort of a Q&A and we can just connect, because I really, as you heard in the mission and the purpose, I really want to build a community. And to do that, I really have this now urge to connect with all of you on a much deeper level. So I think Q&A will be a wonderful way to do that. And if you've been listening to the Icons podcast with my sister Mimi and Alex, I love the feature that they have on their website where you can submit questions and then they answer in episodes. So I would love to do that as well, where you guys can submit questions and I can answer them and we can connect on that level, but also inviting beautiful beings that, inspire me, that I have been learning from, whether they're, spiritual teachers or leaders, thought leaders, or anyone else for that matter that, has a beautiful story and a message to share. I wanted to create this sacred space where we can have these divine conversations and spread and share their message with the world. So that's really what you can expect in terms of the format. And most importantly, with anything that I learn, it has to be practical. Like, I always want to know when I learn anything on how to apply this in a very practical way to my life, because, I love learning, spiritual wisdom and esoteric learnings, but how do I apply this to my life? That's really what I feel like, the age we're in is information age, and is learning and taking that information and applying it in a very practical way. So what you can expect, really most importantly, from these episodes is receiving practical tools on how to apply spirituality to our daily modern hectic lives. And it will be a very broad range of topics that we'll be exploring here. Anything from personal growth, development, self-healing, meditation, mindfulness, science, the latest in science, quantum physics, and everything in between. I think that it will, in fact, I know that the podcast will evolve as I evolve, and it will take on a life of its own. And so I am really looking forward to what this new chapter brings for me, for us, for the community, what we can create. And I really want to connect with your heart, with you right now listening to me. I want to be able to, get to your heart, because if we can all live from a more open, heart-centered space, then the world will begin to change in the most magnificent way, because we can make a shift from fear to love, because that's where love lives. It lives in the heart, and the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain or the mind. The heart is where our wisdom lives. And I'm just very excited and very grateful to finally feel ready, because it's been a long time coming, this podcast. When I was in LA, I first received the sort of guidance or the calling to start the podcast, but it was definitely not the right time. And again, maybe last summer, I received again the reminder of, okay, podcast. But again, it wasn't the right time, because I had to really do a lot of deep inner work, a lot of cleansing and clearing, so that I could become really embody my soul more and more, so I could really stand in my truth and own and share my voice from a more authentic place. Because for me personally, when I am knee deep in something and I am going through something, it doesn't resonate with me to share in that exact moment. But once that wave comes and I sort of go through it and I process it and I extract the lessons, then I'm okay to share, because then I feel like I can actually bring value through my story and through whatever it is that I've been learning. So this feels complete. I'm just looking over my notes of what I wanted to share with you in the intro episode. Just really feel very grateful and very excited and eager to start this journey, to begin connecting with you all on a much deeper level and see where that takes us. I really am following the guidance of my higher self, which comes through as the voice of our intuition, which we will be talking a lot about. I want part of the mission of connecting us all as humanity to our hearts and to our, to our love, which is who we really are, is learning to listen to that intuitive voice within each and every one of us. Every single one of us has that voice. Most of us don't know how to listen to it. So you will be hearing a lot about that and a lot of practical tools on how to actually make that journey and begin to hear that voice. So I'm very excited. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for listening. And I really want to ask you to do this with me. Like, it's really not about me doing this or me starting this or creating this podcast. It's really not about me. It's more that I'm being called to create the space for it and a container for it. And then whatever insights, information that come through, whether through me, through our conversations, through the guests that come on, I'm just feeling this just strong urge to share with as many people as we can. And those who are ready, I believe that it will reach them. So where I need your help is in, if you listen to these episodes and if they resonate, please share them. Even if it's just one or two people. Can you imagine if every single one of you that listens and resonates then spreads it around? We can really spread this message of love and light so much faster. And believe me when I say this, one person that is rooted in love and not fear is so much more powerful than, let's say 1,000 that are sort of steeped in fear, because love is more powerful. This is not a sort of a woo-woo concept. As you will hear from the guests that I bring on that are, have scientific evidence to show this, love is the most powerful, potent force in the universe. And so if we learn how to heal the wounded parts of ourselves, heal that inner child, and then embody our soulful selves, become whole, and create coherence in our hearts and in our brains, we can and will be absolutely unstoppable and unlimited. And that's where I feel so passionate about sharing with all of you everything that I have been learning and integrating, because I can see And I'm really witnessing my own transformation, my own metamorphosis, going from a caterpillar to being in the cocoon for about a year and a half or so, and now slowly feeling like I am emerging as a butterfly. This is really, for years, have been the symbol and a metaphor that life has been sort of showing me that that's what I'm going through, is this transformation, transmutation. And I am being called to sort of share that with all of you and provide you all with the same information on how to do that. So if you're feeling like you're ready to shed all that no longer serves you and become your soulful self, become the truth of who you are, this is the place for you. This is the container in which you will listen to and hopefully absorb and integrate the knowledge and wisdom and practical tools, most importantly, for spiritual growth and evolution. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. If you have, for a long time, I have not been active and sort of consistent with sharing content, but that was because I needed to go on a very deep inner journey of healing so I could emerge as the butterfly that I am and that all of you are inside as well. And then, to do my inner work so then I could just stand in that truth of love and light and allow you all to see yourself, in that reflection, because we're all one, truly. Our hearts are connected, even though it doesn't feel like that because we're in separate physical bodysuits, but we are all one and we're all connected with the web of life, with nature and animals and all that exists. And I'm just excited to have more and more incredible conversations with all of you. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, stay empowered.